Man, week 12, did we have some great games? Big time performances by some of these players. Chiefs almost losing. Broncos beating division rival, sweeping them for the first time in about 8 years. Pretty great week. An awesome looking snow game for Thursday. But yeah, let's get into these games. Thursday night, we had a pretty great game, obviously with the weather and everything. But Russell Wilson, 270, 1 touchdown, no picks. Jameis Winston, 219, no touchdowns, 1 pick. But was it weird that Jameis Winston played better? You know what I mean? It looked like he just played better. Jalen Warren and Najee Harris combined with 86 and 1 touchdown. Nick Chubb had 59 with 2 touchdowns, with Jerome Ford 19. Jameis Winston had that amazing scramble to the end zone. Calvin Austin, 78 yards, 1 touchdown. Jerry Jeudy, 85, no touchdowns. This was a defensive performance on both sides. Obviously, the weather impacted this game a lot. And the Steelers had a lot of opportunities, I would say, to win this game. But, I mean, they won the turnover battle. They had a better roster. And they were just not able to capitalize. The Browns just took full advantage, I think, of the momentum. And were able to win this game even through the tough weather. But big division win, a tough loss for the Steelers. Next we have the Vikings going to Chicago. And this game was, I would say, pretty... What's the word for it? I don't know. The Vikings, this game should not have been as close as this was. But all of these stats are through 5 quarters of football, and it almost took the full amount. Bears ultimately lose again in the 4th quarter, not being able to close out these games. The Bears and the Chiefs are low-key in the same boat, except the Chiefs win the game. Sam Darnold, 330, 2 touchdowns. Great game. Caleb Williams, 340, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Also no picks for Darnold. Great game by both quarterbacks. Aaron Jones, 106 and a touchdown. Caleb Williams, DeAndre Swift had 63 combined with Rashawn Johnson with his 1 goal line touchdown. Jordan Addison had an amazing game, 162 and a touchdown. DJ Moore, 106 and a touchdown. Keenan Allen also got a touchdown, with TJ Hockenson getting over 100 with 114. These have been some pretty great games, like down the wire, close to the game. Really coming down to the very end. The Vikings were just able to close this out. Like I said, it shouldn't have been this close. The Vikings should have been able to put this game away before overtime hit. But yeah, big game and another tough loss for the Bears. Next, we had the first blowout of the week with Jared Goff and the Lions winning 24-6. Jared Goff, 269, no touchdowns, no picks. Not a great game. Just pretty average. Anthony Richardson did not have a great game, 172, no touchdowns, no picks. Jahmyr Gibbs, 90 with 2 touchdowns. David Montgomery, 37 with a touchdown. That's just with rushing. Anthony Richardson out-carried Jonathan Taylor by damn near 30 yards with 61. Jonathan Taylor could not do anything against this Rams defense, 35 yards. I can't put so much emphasis on this loss for the Colts, just because they did play, a top 3 team in the league. So, give them a little bit of credit, but, you got to do more than 2 field goals, especially in 2 field goals in just 2 quarters. If it was at least 12, 1 in each quarter, okay. But you got to do more than 6 points. Jameson Williams, 64 yards. Mossy Brown, 62. Tim Patrick, 55. David Montgomery, 36. Everyone was just kind of getting the rock here. Michael Pittman, 96. Alec Pierce, 1 catch for 39. That's pretty much how this game went. It was just defensive, slow pace, ran the ball, moved the chains. Pretty much it. Nothing really to go off of this. Next, we have a division rival game with the Patriots going to Miami. This was a blowout. Not going to touch on this game a lot. Drake May, 222, a touchdown and one pick. Tua, 317, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Run game combined for the Patriots got to 86, out rushing the Miami Dolphins 65. So by 21 yards, they were actually outrushed. But here's the main thing. Patriots were not scoring touchdowns. And the Dolphins were. 144 for Waddle with a touchdown, 87 and a touchdown for John Smith. Back-to-back great weeks. Devon Achane had 2 receiving touchdowns. This game got out of hand very quickly, at the end of the first half. At the end of the first half, they were able to just kind of slowly, methodically play the rest of the game out because they pretty much won at the end of the first half. At the end of the first half, it was 24-0. I'm not sure who got the ball first, but when you have a 24-point lead going into the second half, you kind of just run the clock out while getting at least one more field goal. And that's just kind of what they did, except they got that in a touchdown. All of the points from the Patriots came in the fourth quarter. Most of those were garbage points. I mean, one of those touchdowns was garbage points. So, this was a blowout in the division rival game as an away team. Tough loss for the Patriots. Next, we have the Buccaneers going to New York. Kind of unfortunate. Drew Lock did not get the start for this game. He was robbed by the coaching staff, and they put in Tommy DeVito instead. Baker, 294, no touchdowns, no picks. Pretty great game. DeVito, 189, no touchdowns, no picks. Pretty not great game. Took a lot of sacks as well. Bucky Irving and Rashad White got around 125, 2 touchdowns. Baker had a touchdown. All 3 running backs for the Buccaneers this game did get a touchdown. Tyrone Tracy, 42 yards and a fumble. He has been fumbling like crazy, but he has so much potential. So I say he's going to clean all that up, next year. But, they need a better offensive line to really let this guy shine. Mike Evans, 68 yards. Bucky Irving, 64 yards. K-Dot and everyone else pretty much got 1 carry. This game was really slow-paced, a lot of running. Malik Neighbors, 64, Wandale, 47, Theo Johnson, 39, and Tracy, 28. This was a defensive performance, and just being able to execute on the offensive side, and the Giants not being able to do either of those things. So, nothing really to go off of here. Giants just got blown out. Next, we have the Cowboys going into Washington. I would say this is upset of the week. Cooper Rush, 247, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Jane Daniels, 275, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Dowdle, 86 yards. Jane Daniels led rushing this game, 74 and a touchdown. Behind Jeremy McNichols and Austin Eckler. The run game could not get going for the Commanders, obviously. CeeDee Lamb, 67 yards. Luke Shoemaker, 55 and a touchdown. Terry McLaurin had an 86-yard touchdown. But before that, only had, 16 yards on 4 catches. So he wasn't really doing anything until that last touchdown. Zach Ertz continues to have a pretty solid stat line, 38 and a touchdown. This game came down to the very end. They're able to go. Look at the points scored in this game. It was 10-9 going into the fourth quarter, and look at the final score. In mind, 7 of those points were garbage points by the Cowboys at the end there, but this game should have went to OT. Commanders, Austin Saubert missed the last second extra point, and that just kind of ended the game. So this game, who knows what would have happened in overtime, but we were robbed of an overtime performance. That would have been really fun to see. But big division win for the Cowboys. That is a brutal loss for the Commanders. Next, we have the Chiefs struggling against the Carolina Panthers. Mahomes had a pretty decent game, 269, 3 touchdowns. Bryce Young had a okay game at 263 and a touchdown. Great game for him. Kareem Hunt, 68 yards. Patrick Mahomes, 60. One of those being a 33-yard run. Chuba Hubbard had 58 and a touchdown. Noah Gray, 2 touchdowns, 66 yards. Travis Kelce, 62 yards, using a 2 tight end scheme there. Receivers weren't really able to get much going. DeAndre Hopkins did have that touchdown, though. David Moore, 81 and a touchdown. Adam Thielen, 57. Leggett, 56. This game, man, the Carolina Panthers defense played great. They played great. Even though they scored 30 points on them, this was a close game. Carolina Panthers were able to, stay in this game. This was a great loss. A great loss for the Panthers. This is a disgusting win for the Chiefs. Another one possession score game. They're struggling, man. They're really struggling. It's just a matter of who's going to be able to make those 1 or 2 plays just to not let them win. A lot of these games, the Chiefs lose if these plays go a different way. This is the 13th win in a row, 1-score game. And, I don't know what's going to take for a team to beat them, but, yeah. Pretty pathetic win for the Chiefs. Next we have the Titans absolutely making the Texans look like children. Titans have one of the worst rosters in the league, and they managed to go into Houston and beat the Texans. Will Levis, 278, 2 touchdowns and a pick. C.J. Stroud, 247, 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. This game was 20-17 at the end of the first half. The Titans winning, by the way. Pollard, 119, a touchdown, great game. Joe Mixon, 22 yards, no touchdowns. The rush game could not get going for the Texans, obviously. But the defense could not stop the Titans. Calvin Ridley, 93 yards. I don't even want to attempt that guy's name. 7 yards and 1 touchdown. Westbrook, 9, 48 yards and a touchdown. But Nico Collins, 92. Tank Dell, 72. Nico Collins also had a touchdown. Kate Stover, 26 and 1 touchdown. This game was... I don't see how the Texans' offensive line is this terrible. Will Levis got sacked 8 times, and they still lost this game. Man, it's just it's a brutal loss. It's a brutal loss. They even won the turnover battle. The defense got more sacks, and they still lost this game. The Texans just are so close to being this elite high-level team, and they just can't get it done. I think Stephon Diggs plays a big part of not, having of the Texans not having crazy amounts of success. But man, it's this O-line, dude. This O-line is terrible. This is the Titans and Texans. This was a battle of the 2 top 5 worst offensive lines. But the Titans were able to pull this big division win out. Next, we had the 49ers going into Green Bay. Brandon Allen did get the start, 199, 1 touchdowns, no picks over the hurt Brock Purdy. Jordan Love, 163, 2 touchdowns, no picks. A pretty decent game. McCaffrey only had 31 yards. Josh Jacobs had 106 with 3 touchdowns. Kittle had 82 and a touchdown. Romeo Doubs, 54. Tucker Kraft with a touchdown. And Malik Heath with a touchdown. This was a blowout. Nothing really to go off of. The defense played great against a hurt offense and a backup quarterback. Nothing really to go off of there. Packers had home field advantage as well. Pretty easy win. Next, we had a game that I thought was going to be a lot closer and a lot more entertaining. The Seahawks going into Seattle. Cardinals only scored 2 field goals at the end of the game and at the end of the first half. The Seahawks were able to score points in every quarter except the first, but slowly and methodically. 1 touchdown was scored in this entire game, and 5 total field goals. Kyler Murray, 285, no touchdowns, 1 pick. 254, 1 touchdown, 1 pick for Geno Smith. The rushing game for the Cardinals, 49 yards. And then, on the Seahawks, nothing crazy better with only 65. This was a defensive performance. Neither offense could get going. It just came down to who was able to get into field goal range. Jackson Smith-Njigba, 77, and the lone touchdown in this game, 59 for Metcalf. Trey McBride, 133, Michael Wilson for 54, and Marvin Harrison Jr. for 47. James Conner also had 41. But yeah, this was a defensive performance. If you're a big defensive guy, then this is a great game. But man, this was a very boring game. But yeah, big division win for the Seahawks, and I mean, you gotta score more points, Cardinals. You can't score 2 field goals. You just can't. You can't be the Colts. Next, we have Sunday night, and man, was a great game. This game always felt like the Eagles were in control, but then right whenever they were like about to start blowing out the Rams score. But yeah, Jalen Hurts, 179, 1 touchdown, no picks. Okay game. Matthew Stafford, 243, 2 touchdowns, no picks. A better game. Here is the MVP of this week, obviously, probably of this month. I will say Saquon, in my eyes, currently is the best running back in the league. I would put Derrick Henry in a close second with Kyren Williams, with like at that third, but it's pretty close. Either way, Saquon, 255, 2 touchdowns. Kenneth Gainwell, honestly, in my eyes, probably stole that third touchdown from Saquon. But yeah, 314 rushing yards for the Eagles, 92 for the Rams. Kind of sums up how that game was going. Saquon was getting 9.8 yards a carry. That's insane. He had 2 70-yard touchdowns, a 72 and I believe a 74 or 70. A 70 and a 72-yard touchdown. He had 142 yards on 2 runs. Pretty insane. A.J. Brown, 109 and a touchdown. Puka, 117, no touchdowns. Saquon also had 46 receiving yards. Cooper Kupp, 60 and 1 touchdown. Demarcus Robinson had 15 and a 3-yard touchdown at the goal line. Devontae Smith was not playing this game due to his concussion, so I thought this game was going to be obviously a lot closer. But yeah, ultimately just a Saquon performance, one of the best games a running back has had probably in a while. This one of the best rushing, honestly, performances, just because he had over 300 yards, but this was one of the best performances I've seen in a while by any player. Next, we have Monday night with the Ravens going into LA. 177, 2 touchdowns, no picks for Lamar. 218, no touchdowns, no picks for Justin Herbert. Derrick Henry had 140 on 24 carries, 5.8 yards a carry. Justice Hill had a touchdown. Lamar had a touchdown. J.K. Dobbins, 40 yards before he ended up getting hurt on 6 carries. Had an MCL sprain. Is going to be put on IR for 4 weeks. So will he be, there? Are they going to if they make the playoffs? It just depends on how he may not even play the last week if they're not in the playoff race. So that's a big, big loss for most fantasy managers, including myself. But yeah, hopefully, I didn't think it was going to be that bad. Justin Herbert, 29 yards. Gus Edwards, 11 with the touchdown. Both had a touchdown there. Zay Flowers, 62. Mark Andrews, Rashawn Bateman, 87 combined with 2 touchdowns. Ladd McConkey, 83 yards. Will Disley, 47. And Joshua Palmer, 38. This game would have been a lot different if Quentin Johnson could catch the football. 5 drops and no yards. Pretty pathetic. But yeah, this game was a lot closer than I feel like a lot of people thought. But man, this Ravens defense has holes. And, if they don't get that cleaned up, they're not going to make the playoffs deep. Next, we have the Broncos going into Vegas. Bo Nix, 273, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Pretty great game. Gardner Minshew, 230, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Game. Desmond Ridder actually had to come in because we hurt Gardner Minshew again. Jaleel McLaughlin, 44 yards rushing, led the Broncos. We couldn't really get much of a run game going. They had a lot of front seven that were really blitzing like crazy. Total for the Raiders, 69 rushing yards between a bunch of no-name running backs. But yeah, Devon Bailey and Cortland Sutton led the Broncos with 177 receiving yards, and Cortland Sutton had 2 touchdowns. Clutch touchdowns, by the way. Marvin Mims, great job in the return game, had 3 catches for 44 yards as well, one being a 37-yarder. Jacoby Myers had 15 total targets, with Brock Bowers having 10, 25 targets between the two. But yeah, combined they had a 159 yard total game, no touchdowns. This game was also defensive. Once we got that turnover, it was 9-13. Broncos were losing at the end of the first half. We get that third quarter touchdown off of the interception, and we go up 16-13. And then kind of at that point, we just kind of take control of that game, and we're able to, put it away. But either way, big win for the Broncos, being division rival, first time sweeping them in 8 years, and that is just a great feeling. Next, we're going on to Week 13 picks. Also, holiday weekend with Thanksgiving coming around. We have 3 Thursday games. I do have, for Chicago going into Detroit, I do have the Lions winning that. Giants going into Dallas. I do have the Cowboys winning that, but Drew Lock is going to be getting the start because Tommy DeVito did get banged up in the last game. Dolphins going into Green Bay. I do have the Packers winning that. Friday, we do have Vegas going into Kansas City. I have the Chiefs winning that, unfortunately. For the 1 o'clock games on Sunday, we have the Chargers going into Atlanta. I have the Falcons winning that. Steelers going into Cincinnati for the Bengals. I do have the Bengals winning that. That's going to be a close game, though. Could go either way. Cardinals going into Minnesota. I do have the Vikings winning that. I would not be surprised if the Cardinals have a comeback game, though. Colts going into New England. This is a toss-up. Either team can win this. I do have the Colts. Probably should have picked the Patriots there. Seahawks going into New York to play the Jets. I have the Seahawks winning that. Titans going into Washington for the Commanders. I do have the Commanders winning that game. I do have the Texans going into Jacksonville and beating them. I feel like they need a breakout game. The Rams going into New Orleans. I do have the Rams winning that game. Bucks going into Carolina. I do have the Bucks winning that division game. It's a must-win. Eagles going into Baltimore. This is a toss-up, probably game of the week. I do have the Eagles winning that, but can go either way. 49ers going into Buffalo. I do have the Bills winning that game just because Brock Purdy's still not going to play, and there's a lot of weather, a lot of snow. And for Monday night, we have the Browns going into Denver. I have the Broncos winning that. I hope they win. We're breaking out our Navy uniforms and making a playoff race, making a playoff run. So hopefully we can, win that game and almost secure a playoff spot. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. A little bit shorter. There's only 13 games this week, but next week, full 16 slate. So, yeah. Hopefully everyone has a great holiday, great Thanksgiving, and I'll see you in my next video.